Good evening, everyone. My name's Tremaine Hayho. Welcome to Movie Night. We have a very special guest tonight, and we have a very special movie about a very special place. I'm here with a very special friend of the show, Chris Marshall. Good evening. How are you?
Feeling special, very special.
Very special.
Happy to be here.
Yes. All right. So, what is the movie that we're going to talk about tonight?
Sacramento, the movie.
Sacramento movie. And where are we?
We are in Sacramento, in the city limits currently.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Sacramento city limits. So the other night we had a invite to go to the Sacramento screening at the Tower Theater, a very iconic theater in Sacramento.
There's nothing more Sacramento than the Tower.
It really is very Sacramento.
Yeah, maybe the Sacramento River, but I don't even think that is Sacramento as the Tower Theater.
You're right. Yeah, when I think about theaters and Sacramento, it is Tower.
Maybe the Crest.
Theater. Chris is up there. IMAX Sacramento is getting up there now too. But in terms of Sacramento-y, like
landmarks that they have in movies.
Landmarks in movies. Yeah, exactly.
You've got my Sacramento A's hat on.
That's right. Sacramento A's right now. Mm-hmm. He just went to the A's game. How'd they do?
Poorly.
Okay.
Yeah. Classic A's.
Classic A's. Yeah, it's so funny. So being in Sacramento, what I liked about this movie is that, yes, they had the butt of the jokes of us being the butt of jokes in Sacramento, the obvious ones. But then it was also heartfelt too, I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times when Sacramento comes up in movies or when people talk about it, it's kind of just to like look down at it. And this one, there were jokes, but I think that it portrayed the city in a very kind of positive light. Shows some of the like really beautiful scenery. And the movie itself was based here, but it just kind of showed what the city was. It didn't really kind of have much commentary on the city itself.
Well, yeah, and I think that's good because what gets to be annoying, one other movie that's based in Sacramento, which we won't call Lady Bird and Turd. But like that movie always said, "Oh, hey, we're in Sacramento. By the way, did you know we're in Sacramento?" And like, yeah, we're from Sacramento, and it sucks. Like, it was just a movie like that where I feel like just shits on Sacramento the whole time. You know what I mean?
Kind of like that.
Yeah, right. Well, that's for another podcast. We can go in.
Relatable.
Yeah, it's relatable, definitely. I mean, we went to high school,
in
a private school in Sacramento, around the same time as that movie.
Yeah. Greta was a year ahead of me at the girls' school.
Yeah.
So I mean, there were some very specific references.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I could relate to 90% of it. I mean, 95%. I could relate to a lot of it. But anyway, we're not here to talk about Lady Bird. We're here to talk about Sacramento.
Yeah.
I mean,
talk about herself.
Yeah. Exactly. Chris Marshall right here, and Tremaine Hayho, and it was a fun night because the whole city of Sacramento showed up. Shout out to Marty Anaya. Sent out the email about it. Marcus Allen, luminary of Sacramento himself, friend of ours, friend of mine. He was in Simp, our movie that just came out on Tubi TV, by the way. But we'll talk more about that later. But it's a cool turnout, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was packed. It was sold out. I mean, sold out almost immediately. A lot of friendly faces in the crowd. So I mean, people were excited to be there, excited to see the movie.
You're right. Yeah, like as soon as I got the email, I added 2 tickets, and I'm like, oh, maybe I want to invite more people, and I tried to get 2 more about 10 minutes later, and it was all gone. Like, so it just shows the city there's a lot of passionate people here in Sacramento, and they like movies, and there's a huge urgency for a movie to be set in Sacramento and not be the butt of a joke. And it's a movie that's not set in LA. Every movie's set either in LA, New York, Miami, maybe Chicago. It's like, or San Francisco. Wow, we're really creative here. We have another movie set in San Francisco.
It's a bunch of Gotham.
Yeah.
Chicago.
It's always Chicago. So if it's East Coast, it's Chicago or New York.
Yeah.
Right, maybe a little New Jersey in there, right?
Well, I mean, the thing too for me about Sacramento, having grown up here, but having also lived in LA, Boston, Chicago, and London, wow, what you see from Sacramento, we're number 20 in media market size, but we're definitely top 5 in pride. I mean, I think that there are cities that kind of rally around the values and kind of what's important and kind of fight back to a certain extent against some of the stereotypes of what cities are. And I think, Boston was very, very much like that, where people had a ton of pride in Boston. And that's something that people know about the city. But I think that's something that maybe people don't think about when they think of Sacramento, of a city full of people that have a ton of pride in what the city's about.
Right, exactly. We're proud of the city. We like being in Northern California. We're not in SoCal for a reason, and it is something. We are a city of underdogs. Kings have been terrible for so long, but then they've gotten actually good. There's been times when they've gotten really good.
Yeah, we're like good adjacent.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. This year has had its ups and downs.
Yeah.
But making a play in, but it just shows that the crowd, the energy, people always talk, whether it's Sacramento Kings, they talk about the energy of the stadium.
Yeah.
They talk about how people
Good
show
or bad, people show up.
Right. Yeah, exactly. People show up, or they say, oh, it's so annoying. There's people with cowbells here. And yeah, I mean, they're not wrong. We're very passionate. We're loud. We show up. And this movie was it was one of those things where I'm like, gosh, damn it. Why didn't I make a movie called Sacramento in Sacramento? These guys aren't even from Sacramento, but
we probably don't even know the motto. It's like, Sacramento. We might smell like cows,
but we look like.
No, that's it.
Yeah. I was going to say cows.
No,
I was going to say cows.
That's it.
We
might smell like cows.
We might smell like cows.
That's
okay. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I thought you were like trying to pass the improv thing. Is that the real thing?
That's the end of it. It's on the steps of the Capitol.
Is it really?
No.
Okay, it should be.
Yeah.
No. But we were the city of trees. Now we're the farm to fork capital. Yeah, which is in terms of slogan, I'm not a big fan of the slogan, but it's cool. There are some farm to fork places, some good eateries around.
Yeah.
Downtown has gotten way better in the past 10 years.
Well, and I think that's a push too for the restaurants. Had some like Michelin starred, Michelin rated. It's a big push from Trifecta, which is based here, which is like a massive food prep brand, towards getting that changed. And I mean, even the City of Trees, Treepedia, actually, this is in fact Treepedia, which was I think a Harvard-run study, and it's tree canopy. So it's how much of the city is covered in tree canopy, and that's where Sacramento rated #1.
Wow, see? We're #1, baby. Yeah. We're #1. Yeah. That's why I like
Paris is second. So we're like we're basically better than Paris.
We are better than Paris. Can anyone prove otherwise? No. Actually, I agree with that because I've been to Paris. It's nice, but it's kind of shady. I don't know. Paris is
from the trees.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly. Sacramento's even shadier, though. Sacramento's shadier, though. I guess. Yeah. We're #1.
Touche.
Yeah.
Touche. Anyway, we lost. We're not even
talking about the movie anymore. Okay. So it's starring Michael let me look this up real quick.
Angarino. That's what it sounds like.
It's starring two Michaels, Michael A and Michael C.
Yeah.
Right. And
just like first grade.
Right. Yeah. I know. I know so many Michaels. There's so many Michaels in this world. But Michael A, who is the writer, co-writer, director, and star of this movie.
Yeah.
Which was really impressed. I was really impressed by this. They talked about I've watched a number of their interviews since being on around. I don't know if you've seen any of them.
No, I haven't seen the other ones.
They've been on KCRA 3 and ABC and Fox 40 local, and they all asked him the same question. Well, where did this idea come from? And he said it started 10 years ago.
Yeah,
as a TV pilot, right? And it was two friends wanting to make it in Hollywood and make it road trip to Sacramento. And the true story is they were going to go on this trip on a whim. They said it as a joke because they say, hey, when you're in LA, there's literally a crossroad where it's like Los Angeles, where you're in Los Angeles already, or Sacramento, which is 300 and some miles away. Right. So it's kind of an interesting thing where people that aren't from Sacramento or not living there be like, oh, those are my two options. Those are my options.
It's like it's Hollywood and Sacramento. That's basically how it is. It's like 101 splits off from the 405.
Yep.
Big Sacramento sign.
You're right. I actually had a big moment where when I decided to move back to Sacramento, I saw that sign, and it was a crossroads. It was the crossroads. It was
Yeah.
LA. Do I go back to LA? I lived there for 8 years. Well, loved it, but I felt like I did that whole thing. And going back to a Lady Bird feel where a lot of people that grew up in Sacramento and Lady Bird, all she can't wait to do is get out of Sacramento. And
Which is fair.
it's very fair.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like,
People did that.
and we both did that. Right. We both did that. And it was good that we did.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think
I think it
because
makes you appreciate sort of where you're from. And I mean, I loved living in LA. I was there for 8.5 years too, went to school in Orange County, before that. And then, 3 years in Boston, 2 years in Chicago. And I mean, I loved living in Chicago too. I didn't care for Boston. This was as it is, I didn't care for living there, but you find your pockets, and then you find your people in those pockets. But I mean, I feel like Sacramento, you can kind of do the whole city,
yeah.
which I appreciate.
Well, yeah. And we're not that small. We're still 500,000 people. Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Five or
I think we're 19 or 20 media market. I mean, so
What does that mean exactly?
so I just in terms of like TV viewers. So like from like a news perspective, it's like the top markets, LA, New York, Chicago, Bay Area. And then so when you're going through markets, we're actually the largest market not to have 2 professional teams.
Wow.
Permanent teams.
Wow.
So you get teams like Nashville or Charlotte, or this is a lot of information about the city.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, it's good. It's good information.
yeah. So
pe-
San Antonio is a smaller media market, and they're getting the Final Four again.
Oh, right. Yeah, there you go.
Sure.
Yeah, San Antonio kind of remind me a little bit of mini Sacramento, but Milwaukee, I've been to Milwaukee, and it's about the same size as Sacramento. They've got a very passionate baseball and basketball fan base.
Algonquin for the good land.
Yeah, exactly.
Milwaukee.
Right. Exactly. Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Algonquin.
Yeah. I remember Alice told me that.
Oh, okay. Alice don't live here anymore.
Yeah.
But
Good dude.
oh, okay. It was a guy. His
Yeah.
name's Alice.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a musician.
Oh, Alice in Wonder. Okay. Yeah. This is going over my head, but I like it. So, okay, going back to the movie. We're going back to the movie. Michael Cera, the other Michael Cera is in it. Now, what was funny is that I was at an appointment and they were asking me like, "Oh, what are you doing today?" I'm like, "Oh, later on I'm going to this premiere or like a sneak preview of this movie, Sacramento." And she's like, "Oh, how do you describe it?" And I'm like, I just came out of this of my own head. I'm like, it's kind of looks like it's gonna be kind of like super bad, but for 30 somethings, right?" And then lo and behold, we see the poster and it says, "Oh, it's super bad for 30 somethings," and
Yeah.
it's kind of the best way I can describe that movie.
It's funny because like they have all these like coming of age. You're like, you're in high school, or it's like Lost Boys, or something like that. Oh, we're coming of age, and everybody when they're 13 sees their first dead body, and
Right.
and
Everyone does. Yeah.
Everybody sees one. And I feel like this is a coming of age movie for people in their early 30s. We're just like, you've been an adult for a while, and it's like really starting to grind on you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, early to late 30s, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, I could relate to it a lot because just those characters. I mean, I could relate to both characters in a lot of ways, but the main character I could relate to a lot because many people our age now have kids or significant others. And everything, and I don't. And the main character in this one doesn't have one, and is a bit of a Peter Pan syndrome, right, type guy. And
you'll find someone.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay, yeah. Well, I wasn't getting to that, but yeah, that would be nice if I did. But at any rate, I could relate to this guy. Like, okay, because a lot of these other friends now, they have children. Now the opening scene that Michael Cera's getting the crib all set up, right, and he had some little angst moments, some anxiety, anger pent up there.
Yeah.
His well, it's interesting. Michael Cera, I've always loved everything he's been in. He's great. And it's interesting seeing him in this role because he is very similar. He's always been very similar since he was George Michael in Arrested Development. But to see him in this character where he's almost more serious in a lot of times, he was more serious, and as an actor, he gave a lot of deadpan lines and jokes, and I thought he really nailed it. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I think it's always interesting when you see sort of like a comedic actor, especially one that you're used to seeing in a certain light,
Mhm.
do something that's a little different. I mean, there's a couple of movies that I think of, like when you have guys who are funny and who are sort of sticky and things like that, where it's like Awakenings with Robin Williams,
Oh yeah,
which is great based on a true story. I think it's free on Netflix right now, so you should
is
check
it?
that
I'll
out.
check it out. I haven't seen.
And that's great.
Is that a darker one?
No. So it's like a doctor that finds a treatment for people who are sort of almost comatose, and then it helps them with their dopamine, and they become
Okay. You said enough. You said enough.
sure. But and the other one's Stranger Than Fiction,
Oh, okay.
where you see Will Ferrell, Maggie Gyllenhaal's in that, and he is a much more serious kind of. That's a great movie too. Another sort of like limited release.
You know, I never saw that movie.
Oh,
It's worth it. Okay,
it's
really?
that I watched it a couple times. Like every couple of years, I'll like see it pop up and I'll watch it. But you see an actor that you're very used to seeing in a certain light,
Uh-huh.
and do something different. And there were some. He was funny in this too. But I mean, you really kind of pull from the like, anxiety and fear, and I mean, he was great.
Yeah, and he has a huge reason to fear about things, and
Yeah.
there was a
It's
right.
frightening.
Yeah, it's terrifying, and he. It was interesting because half the movie I'm looking at his significant other that I'm like, is that Kristen Stewart? Or like, I don't know if it is. Is that? It looks like a lot like her, but she looks a little bit different though. But of
Well,
course,
she's not a vampire anymore.
yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. She's got a little color on her.
Sure.
Yeah, and I thought she was great. I thought she was really good.
I thought she was too. I mean, because like I think that she was in it a lot, right?
Yeah,
But
that's the best part about it.
yeah, but she did sort of like, I mean, scene steal a little bit. Like when the parts that she was in, you could. I mean, she definitely filled up the screen.
Well, and that's another thing that I can relate to. Just to bring it back to me for a second.
Yeah.
Well, when you
I
have
thought we were just talking about you. I didn't even know there was.
oh, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Always talking about me.
Yeah.
But so the main character shows up and it's his best friend. And then there's always that dynamic of the best friend's wife or
Mhm.
where it's like, oh, this mess up
That
is showing
That
us.
is a dynamic.
Yeah, and it is. That's a real thing when you're 30 years old, and typically, I won't say all situations, but typically the wife's more pulling the guy in for being more like an adult and less wanting to go out and drink and party or do things that they used to always do, but now they're adults, right? So they're kind of the rolling their eyes, but at the same time, they realize that their significant other gets a lot out of benefit of hanging out with their best friend and seeing them, and she's kind of pushing him towards that where he was almost like, well, I can't hang out with this guy anymore because he's so immature and I'm about to have a baby and blah blah blah. So there was that dynamic, and she was more pushing him to do it because it seemed like he needed that. It was something that
Yeah.
right. It is something of
I mean, you do too much work. Next thing you know, you're coming through a door with an axe. And you got to make time to play.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're frozen.
makes Jack a dull boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely.
Frozen and not the same.
Frozen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the like frozen.
Yeah. Well, what I really liked about that was with the best friend thing where they're teasing.
Everybody has one of those guys.
Yeah, of course.
Or maybe you are that.
Or maybe you are that
Yeah,
guy.
you don't
Maybe
have-
I am that.
If you
guy.
don't have one of those guys,
You are that guy. I think I am that guy. But he's the one who's like, yeah, Sacramento. Oh, should we do a road trip to Sacramento? He's like, yeah, sure. Let's go to a city that I'd never dreamed about ever being in. Yeah, sure. Let's go on a 6-hour.
go to the city that always sleeps.
Yeah. Let's go to this 6-hour road trip on a whim with no luggage or anything. That sounds like a great idea. And then they're like, all right, awesome, let's go. And then you're going, and it's like, all right, okay, all right, dude, you win. We're not actually gonna go, right? We're not gonna go, right?
Yeah.
And
Based on the scenery, that feels like about a Bakersfield talk.
that was a
which
Bakersfield
which
talk.
is like
It's far enough.
100 miles.
Yeah.
I mean, you're deep.
Yeah. But like guys are stubborn though. They will take a joke
Oh,
pretty damn far. I mean, we're pretty like we'll take that joke. We'll try to laughs each other, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost like,
It will be important.
if he's serious, yeah, right? Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, let's. You know what? Why don't we go to Portland while we're at
like 580 more miles.
yeah, let's do it. Right, and then it's like that dynamic of, okay, no, are you out chicken me
Yeah.
essentially, and
The thing that's crazy to me is like I've made that drive, I don't know, 100 times. You know, because I went to College in Orange County. I lived in LA for 8.5 years. I made that drive a lot, coming up to see my folks and things like that. And I've had convertibles. I mean, I like convertibles. And on one occasion, I drove the entire way with the top down with one of my buddies. And then that was sort of the deal. We got to about the bottom of Grapevine, which, you know, a little more than 100 miles in, you probably 275 out of Sacramento. And we're like, yeah, let's give it a go. And so we did it the whole time. And man, those guys would look different if they did the full 6 hours with the top.
yeah,
It's like,
oh yeah,
oh man,
oh
you are chapped.
you're cooked. Yeah,
it's
was
brutal.
was it summertime?
It was summertime.
Oh my
We
god.
got about halfway down the valley, and then the clouds sort of rolled in, and then it was kind of cold, but we'd already committed to it. We're like, we committed to doing the full trip
The full trip
full
in a
trip
convertible.
in a convertible top down.
Wow.
Mustang convertible.
And you're pretty pale.
I'm-
I mean, I'm very fair. Yeah.
I'm primarily Norwegian, so I will tan a little bit.
Okay. Norwegian.
Yeah. I'm
Oh, all right. Wow. Oh, there it is. There it is. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay, he's my
There's cousin.
little brother.
Yep.
That's like not as good looking or strong.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know,
he'll
find
he can do his thing. He can.
like-
Yeah. You got to teach him a little bit more.
But like that is it's a brutal drive in something like that. And so I can relate to that on a certain level. But also like when you start thinking about like as they dig further into it and they're talking about kind of like why they're making the drive. That's something that I can also like deeply relate to. Because like it's been like 12 years since we lost my dad, almost exactly. It was 6th this month. And that's a drive that I made with, you know, one of my best friends, like after my dad died, coming up to the funeral and stuff. And like, you know, you're heading the same place and you're having that same feeling. And it's like, it's a weird feeling, you know, doing that. And then like, what do you say? Like if you're like somebody's friend and it's like having conversation,
right. Like, hey man, how's it going?
Yeah.
Tell me about your feelings right now.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you say? Yeah, that's like the challenging part. And so it's such like a delicate sort of like dance. Like when you want to be there for someone and then you're having these conversations. And, you know, I thought Kristen Stewart's character was so practical in sort of the way she's like, well, people, you know, deal with grief differently, which is very true.
Very true.
You know? And then also like it's everybody does it differently. So you don't know exactly how it's gonna affect you and how it's gonna play out. And sometimes you just need to disappear or go somewhere or do something, find purpose. And I think that's a big part of it. And it's like on a much smaller scale, but I remember it was like the day my dad died, and after he died, I just left the house, like how the family was there, and I just left. And I went to the Nordstrom rack.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay.
I went to the Nordstrom rack.
I didn't think that's where I thought you were gonna say. I went to the river to contemplate.
No,
To the Nordstrom. We got a Nordstrom rack.
Yeah, there was a pair of
Was there a nice rack there?
pair of shoes.
Okay.
Yeah. Tons
Great
of
rack.
racks,
Tons of racks. Tons of.
Yeah, but there was like a pair of shoes that I kind of had my eye on. I remember they were like these Kohan Lunar Lawn with soles. I still have them. But it was like, where can I find purpose, right? Where can I go to get something? It's like, oh, I know exactly where I'm going. I know where they are on the rack. I'm gonna buy them, and you know, and then so I went and got them, you know, because that was something that would, you know, give me purpose, take my mind off it, you know. And by the time I got back to the house, he was gone. and like that's not how you want to see someone anyway, really,
Yeah.
being like, carried out under a sheet or, whatever, because they're gone.
Oh, wow. So he was at your house?
He's at the house.
Oh,
Yeah, he's at the house.
what? May I ask what happened?
Yeah, he had cancer. And so he was like kind of on hospice and,
Oh.
it was waning.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of a wild story, honestly. I was in LA and I had an interview for a job at Fox Sports 1 when they first launched. And so I had my interview and I called my mom to be like, oh, hey, like it went really well. I'm like, thinking that, hopefully I get this job and all the other things. And she's like, drive to the airport. And then we'll get you a seat and then get on the flight, come home. And then by the time I got home, it's like, couldn't speak and kind of all those things really. And he's lying in bed. And so we just kind of spent the night in the room with him. And in the morning, I got there in the evening, maybe 7 or 8 o'clock. And then in the morning, a little after 7, I got an email that I had another interview. And so that was great. So I remember I was like talking to him. I told him like, hey, I got this interview and I'm gonna get this job and I'm gonna be, work my way up. I'm gonna be the best sports broadcaster I can be, and it's gonna be awesome. And then he squeezed my hand and he was gone. And so and then I flew back because I had an interview. So I flew back from my interview the next day, and got through it, and you put a smile on your face and you do what you can, and then I picked up my stuff and drove back, and I tried to go play soccer to like make myself feel better, and I ended up getting a yellow card. I tried to take it from the referee and yellow card back.
Oh no!
Wow!
Tried
to get me banned from the league.
Oh, that's it. It's a minor story. Yeah, minor details, things that happen.
Something like that. But I think when I'm thinking about sort of like this stuff that you do, like when you're in a situation like that where you're just filled with grief, and you sort of don't know up from down, and you're a person, so it's like, sort of like how to get through the motions, and you can like sort of pack it in and compartmentalize and do things, but you're a crazy person. Like, we're a crazy person because it's like anything could just kind of, pull you or set you off, or, maybe it, you hold on to it for a little bit and a couple weeks later, you'll have some, just like explosion of feeling. So I think when you're looking at this movie, it's difficult to sort of decipher some of the feelings, or at least on my end, having been through some of those situations and, been in groups and talked to people about it. Like, it was very relatable and real. And I think that that's something that's very difficult to do because it is such a weird and sort of like delicate feeling, and it's different for everyone. So it's tough to kind of capture that. And like, how do you talk to your friends? How do you, it's because it's weird. Cause like, if you haven't lost somebody like that, like one of your parents, then it's like, you can't explain it to somebody.
Yeah. Well, and that is the thing, and everyone goes through grief differently. And where this movie it's a buddy comedy at its core. It's a buddy comedy, but there's the underlying current of a man who just had his dad passed away, and then they mention that I guess these aren't really spoilers. It's not really spoilers, but because the movie, I don't think you could really spoil. It's more of just watching it as a journey. And they had both lost their dads, and it's like, hey, I was here for you when you lost your dad. Now I really appreciate it if you join me. It was a road trip around to be here for me. And yeah, it is tough. I have a really good friend of mine who just lost his dad, and I see him going through those things, and it's tough. I don't want to think about it. Thank God my dad's still alive, and I get choked up even thinking about it. Right? It's a tough subject, and there's always different things. There's people that are not close to their dad, so they're like, oh. I know someone. Well, he was just a sperm donor to me, and it's like, oh gosh, like those are completely different, right? So whether you're close to them or you're far away, it is a different thing, and whether you're losing your dad or or your best friend or your cousin or someone you knew, someone you went to high school, it is something where it's like, whoa, it is a tough, like, you start acting a little bit differently than you normally would, and then those 7 stages of grief or whatever it is.
Well, and I think it's interesting because like there are only, like a few movies I feel like that I've seen where it like really sort of captures that feeling for me um that I was having, and it's like this one I think captured it. And, people that are in our age group, we're looking, my fiance and I would like to have a baby. And so that's something that we're thinking about. And so it's sort of like hit the nail on the head for me across the board, sort of like, oh, there's this part of it. And then there's all these fears and anxiety around like, what do you do with this like little alien? And
Right.
how do you keep it alive?
Yeah.
Do you get the house ready for it? And the other one for me was Dean. It was Dimitri Martin and Kevin Kline. And it was sort of about a guy who lost his mother and then his dad started dating. And I saw that sort of in real time, like after it was about 5 years after my dad had died. And then my mom had just started dating. And now she's married to a great guy.
Yeah.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Ed.
Hey guys.
But no, it was
But
like
that's awkward. It's awkward.
It's awkward. And
It's weird.
It's a shock. I
Yeah.
think, to your system,
Right.
I mean, and it's like you want your parents to be happy and all the rest of
Yeah.
those things. You don't want to be alone forever, and all that stuff's important. But that was another one that sort of really captured the feeling. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out.
Yeah.
But that was another one that really sort of like captured it for me. And so these two, and the other one is Thor.
Thor?
Yeah, I really just.
Yeah. Well, because it's about your family.
Well, it's a window
Yeah.
into what it feels like to be me, just regularly.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I thought, you're, I think he did a really good job. Your dad in that movie was really good.
Oh, yeah.
Odin. Yeah. Odin. Good old Odin.
But I mean, it's like,
Foreshadow.
it's so, I mean, you as a filmmaker, I mean, you have to capture feelings. Like you have to capture a feeling in a moment. And I feel the same way about songs. It's like from a creative standpoint, you have to use words, pictures, faces to capture a feeling and give someone that feeling. And that's incredibly difficult to do. And especially with something that is so personal, like this. It's, I mean, it was great. I mean, it really like, it's like you can see it. It's like I get like,
Yeah.
who's not be like sort of talking about it, but it's like one of those things where when you feel it, you're like, wow, I don't know exactly what to point to about like, oh, that's what made me feel that way, but just sort of like kind of like going through it.
Well, and I think that's why I think this movie has its legs, because it has the feeling behind it. There's movies that come out and they're funny, they're entertaining at the time, but then there's no underlying thing to it. There isn't like, I think the reason why Happy Gilmore is so popular, not only is it a hilarious movie, but he's there to save his grandma.
Mhm.
Right? He wants to save his grandma. And a lot of young guys can be like, I love grandma. Everyone loves grandma. Who doesn't love your grandma?
Yeah.
Right? Unless you've got a bad grandma. But most grandmas are amazing. And I think there's that underlying thing where it's like, oh, wow, this guy did lose his dad. And now you're thinking at first, like, wait, did he actually?
Yeah.
Did he not? But we'll save those details. I mean, he did, but maybe not in the way that he portrays it. But it has that. I do say filmmaking is a feeling, where you want people to feel a certain way. And if you're not getting into it, then it's not a good movie and you didn't do your job. And I thought where you never know with a movie called Sacramento, is it going to be, Sacramento going to be a punching bag the whole time? Because that's how I felt when I saw Lady Bird. I felt like Sacramento was just a huge punching bag, and she didn't learn anything. Like going back to crapping on Lady Bird, but this movie, the characters develop, they go through their crap, and it's a funny and entertaining movie, and it's not overly dramatic, it's not overly comedic. They're not trying too hard to be funny, quirky. There's that line, right? There's kind of that line that they toe, that they're teetering, where if things are too cutesy, or they're too on the nose, where it's like, okay, this is too on the nose here. I was watching Black Mirror, the first episode, and it was very depressing, and it was just everything was just really outright on the nose, like telling you how to feel about stuff, but it wasn't. You didn't care about any of the characters,
Yeah.
right? And these guys, you do care. They're relatable for me, and
Now you're rooting for 'em.
yeah, you're rooting for them. Yeah, you're rooting for them to succeed in their journey But what I also like about this movie is that I didn't know where it was going, but I loved that, because it is something where it wasn't like one of those. There are those movies, the Richard Linklater hangout movies, they call them, like Dazed and Confused or Suburbia, or you're just getting a slice of life, of a day in the life of a kid in high school in Suburbia, whatever it is.
Right.
But they had an actual mission. It had the rising action conflict and conclusion and everything, and it did a really good job, and I think it will have its legs. Well, I think they're only going to be screening for the next week or two at Tower Theater. It's very limited release right now, but I foresee it being a real gem, cult classic, and I hope more people talk about this movie, Sacramento, than Lady Bird.
Well, I mean, I think the casual viewer would not know that Lady Bird was based in Sacramento unless they had seen it. If they just see it, it's like, oh yeah, that's what that is.
Exactly.
But
I
it's
didn't know it.
called Sacramento.
Well, yeah,
It's hard to hide.
it's far to hide
Yeah.
from it. Yeah, yeah. Well, no, the whole thing about when Lady Bird, that all she talks about is Sacramento. Going back to, I'm just talking about movies made in Sacramento, but everyone always talks about how great Lady Bird is in Sacramento. Outside of Sacramento, no one talks about how good that movie is, because it's not a good movie. Okay, we're going back to we're going.
Who hurt you?
I know. You're gonna give me a yellow card.
Okay.
You're gonna give me a yellow card. Give me that.
I mean, the Catholic girls' schools. It's like they really ruined your day.
No, I don't know.
No, in a yearbook. See if there's any picture of you at the dances.
Oh yeah, there are. Look out for them. Yeah. But
Tremaine and I went to high school together in Sacramento.
we did. Yeah, so look out at those yearbooks.
Yeah.
Actually, I've got the yearbooks over there. But anyway, it is. I think when a movie deserves credibility.
Yeah.
And I think this movie deserves its credibility. That's the bottom line, is what I'm saying. Which Lady Bird does not, but I think Sacramento does.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's a movie that I might go see it again.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, definitely.
Well, I can. You know, take my significant other. And go.
Oh, she'd love it. She'd really like.
I know. Yeah, I think so. That's what I told her. And like I called my mom and talked to her about it, because obviously she knows the history of my life.
She might know a few things.
She's familiar.
She might.
Top to bottom. She's
Yeah, they're very familiar with the bottom.
yeah, and so and she lives in Palm Springs right now. And so the closest theater playing it was Redlands, which is not close.
Oh wow,
Which is unfortunate. So she'll see it when she can.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's something that I would recommend to my friends. And I think as far as like movies go, I give it 5 sacks for Sacramento.
5 sacks for Sacramento. I like that. I think I'd give it the same. I'd give it 5 sacks for Sacramento. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it is a movie to see in the theaters. If you are close enough, if you're within the next 30 minutes or 45 minutes of a movie theater, it's definitely worth seeing with an audience. It's worth seeing with an audience.
Yeah.
I think you could watch it with friends streaming and everything. You could watch it alone streaming, probably have a good time. But there was something about that theater. And okay, yes, we are in a very, what we're called, warm audience. It's a hot audience. It's a Sacramento native audience.
Very hot.
Very hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're just talking about us, but there were other people
wore my
out
new
there
pants.
too. Yeah.
Short sleeve button.
Oh, we added some photos here of us out there. Yeah, with Michael A.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kept wanting to call him Michael Avenatti. He's not Michael Avenatti. Michael Avenatti was the lawyer that's in jail right now. Not Michael Avenatti. Very good movie. I had a great time with it, and the audience loved it. I feel there were no one, like, I think 2 people got up and went to the bathroom and came right back during it. That's when you could tell it's a good movie. And especially one of these screenings where you go to some of these advanced screenings and the movie sucks and people leave, and everyone stuck around for the Q&A.
Yeah.
There was a 20-minute Q&A afterwards, and I'll post that on YouTube as well. I just filmed it on my phone, but yeah, it was really interesting seeing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to fill the house. I mean, I think, these type of events are fun. I mean, even if it isn't a specific movie about Sacramento, I think, filmmakers, actors, taking the time to come see us here, it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
I think a bigger difference here than it would make, in a place like LA where that's more commonplace. But having, people take the time to come and see our little theater. It's not the Dome on, in Hollywood.
Right.
I mean, it's like, it's ours.
It's ours.
It's ours.
Yeah. And there's a certain charm about Sacramento where if you make a movie about LA, okay, congratulations. Now you're one of a couple thousands of movies that are made about LA or in LA or in New York. Now you're one of thousands. Now, I mean, Sacramento, you could probably, count on your hand. Which, another movie we can count on our hand that was filmed in Sacramento is a movie called Simp that just came out on Tubi TV. It is on YouTube right now. You can check it out on the channel, but it is censored on YouTube. You can watch it uncensored on Tubi for free for you, but we still get paid. So it's a win-win situation. Yeah. It's a great thing. 91 million subscribers on Tubi. So Tubi surpassed Netflix in America for users, which is nuts. Yeah. User friendly. Yeah. And speaking of Sacramento, we have the Sacramento Movie Bus Film Festival coming out end of the month. I'm excited to watch the movie Haunted House of Pancakes. Shout out to Paul Newton, who was there. He was there at the Sacramento movie screening. So shout out to Paul. You met him briefly? Yeah. And he's got a movie out there. I'm going to be there. Will you be there?
Probably.
Okay, yeah, we'll go see that movie. Maybe talk about it after.
Have another movie date.
Yeah, well, movie date, right? But the winner he's going to win. Paul Newton's going to win. Well, he's the only one nominated. They only nominated one movie this year, and he's gonna.
I usually like to go.
Yeah. Right. It's like, hey, that's a comfortable feeling.
That's to come and be president of the French Club.
Are you serious?
I wasn't even taking French.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
What nomination did you get?
I was nominated to become president, and I
by yourself,
or I was alone. There was not a person. There was another person that also was in the hat, and then I got nominated, and then they dropped out, and then I became president of the French Club. And I'd finished my French requirement last year, so I was president for the whole second year, and I wasn't taking French.
Enchanté. Did you know any lick of French?
Yeah. I actually spoke decent French.
Okay.
Time, yeah.
You kind of have a French shirt happening on right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Like
a little mime costume going.
I think it's I think it is a French brand. Now I can't.
Para. Okay. Well, grow a para and go see Sacramento in your local theater, and also go see Simp on Tubi. Hit that like button and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you so much, Chris. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. I shared a lot about my life, so hopefully.
Hey, I know. Yeah, I hope you're cool with it.
Yeah. Now you know.
Now you know about Chris. We got to know. No, but thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, that's great.
It's sentimental movie.
It's important. It's important, and that's like why the movie was sort of important to me. So,
well, I know a lot of people are going to be able to relate to this movie as well, and obviously we're from Sacramento, so we relate to it even more than anyone else out there. But I think it is a universal theme and storyline, even though it's set in Sacramento. All right, more Sacramento movies to come, which we will be making more movies in Sacramento. More to talk about that. Okay, we're going to end the video. Okay, bye. See you guys.